Seeing at 6 p.m., I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Kenai City Council to order and ask that if you are able to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First of all, I'd like to say welcome everybody here this evening. Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Nackstedt?
Here.
Councilmember Daniel?
Present.
Councilmember Sonart?
Here.
Mayor Gabriel?
Here.
Councilmember Casena?
Here.
Councilmember Dothett?
Here.
Councilmember Askin?
Here.
Student Representative Tanner?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we get to approval, agenda approval, Council, I'd like to draw your attention to a laydown you should have in front of you with requested additions to the packet. Action, add to item H5, ordinance number 3463-2025, conditionally donating certain city-owned property described as three approximately 1.5 acre parcels to be subdivided from a portion of the approximately 69.5 acre parcel described as Kenai Meadows Addition Number 1, Tract 1A, according to Plat 2023-48, to Kenai Peninsula Housing Initiative for the development of restricted income and senior housing. There's also an ordinance for the introduction and a memo. This is requested by administration. And before we do that, I'd like to just have our city manager take a pause and just give a brief overview of this. Mr. Eubank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So the administration became aware of this. We've been working with KPHI on some development that they're actually going to be breaking ground on here real soon out there this year. They've identified another funding opportunity. That funding opportunity has a deadline of April 30th. We didn't become aware of this until after the packet was prepared. So in order for KPHI to use our land in their application, which is a key component, we needed to get it introduced tonight. It will be up for public hearing on the 16th, and it will meet all noticing requirements in order to do that. So we don't typically do this by laydown, but we respectfully requested it in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Eubank. And just want to give everybody a little background because that's a little bit out of the norm for us here this evening. So with that, Vice Mayor Nackstedt.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for approval of the consent agenda with add item H5, request unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Is there anybody from the body that would like to amend the agenda or consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please read the consent agenda into the record.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. Approval of the regular meeting minutes of March 19th, 2025, brought to you by the city clerk. New business action approval, bills to be ratified, brought to you by the administration. And introduction of ordinance number 3462-2025, accepting and appropriating donations to the Kenai Animal Shelter for the purchase of equipment and supplies, brought to you by the administration. Public hearing on April 16th, 2025. And that is your consent agenda.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there anybody from the general public that would like to speak to any item that's on the consent agenda, which was just read into the record? Seeing none, we'll bring back to council. Unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the agenda and consent agenda is approved. This evening, we have no scheduled administrative reports, but we do have several scheduled public comments under item C. First up, we have Kenai River Quality Monitoring Funding, Kenai Watershed Forum Environmental Scientist and Water Quality Coordinator, Benjamin Meyer. Mr. Meyer, good evening. You state your name and the city you reside in for the record.
Thanks. My name is Benjamin Meyer. I work with Kenai Watershed Forum, and I'm here this evening with Executive Director Trent Dodson as well. I live at 580 Devray Street, Kenai. And my scheduled public comment this evening is to follow up on presentation from March 5th. We had just a few minutes to tell the council about our request for signing the memorandum of understanding for the Kenai River Baseline Water Quality Monitoring Project. And council moved at that time to approve signing that memorandum of understanding, which we are very grateful for. We have about 16 signers that we've requested altogether so far, and we have 10 out of 16 so far. So one more check mark. Much appreciated. And as a follow-up for that conversation, we are here this evening to request that the City of Kenai resume its annual contribution to this project to the $5,000 level, which was the case from 2011 through 2023, and it is currently at a $1,500 level. The council had requested at that time some additional details on the finances behind this project, and they are provided in the packet you have, I believe. I can cover these in more detail if you'd like, since we have a little bit more time this evening. And I also have a short YouTube video to show that kind of gives viewers a sense of what this project is, a bit of the history, what it's for, why we're doing this. I think it'd make more sense to view that first, unless anyone is opposed or has questions beforehand. Okay, I would like to see if we can pull up this short video then. And yeah, I can share more about this too, and then answer any additional questions that you have afterwards. It's a little bit mortifying to have to listen to myself talk on film, but I'm glad I'm here in person to answer questions too. Okay. If anyone's listening online, we're just clicking through some options on Zoom here.
The Kenai River Baseline Water Quality Monitoring Project was initiated in the year 2000, and it was the culmination of efforts by a lot of different community groups. One of the main reasons the Watershed Forum was formed was to get together a group of people to start doing water quality monitoring on the Kenai River and its many tributaries.
Great, thank you for sharing that film. Hopefully anyone online that wanted to see it was able to see it as well, and if not, you can check out our YouTube channel. Essentially what this program is intended to be is a twice-a-year health checkup for the Kenai River. As a central vein of our culture and economy here, I think it's a pretty basic choice that we choose to monitor its health. Currently, this is kind of the main effort towards that end. And we are acting, certainly not alone, but on the behalf of all the different organizations that are going to be signing on to this memorandum of understanding. So that includes state agencies, federal agencies, tribal organizations, other nonprofits, several private entities, I think just one at the moment. But this is a team effort. And so we are revisiting organizations like the City of Kenai to just check in and let you know what we're doing. Let you know that we do have a comprehensive report that is assessing all of these results due out within the next year. And when we have those results, we will be excited to share them in more detail and talk about what they mean and what they might mean for choices we have to make or don't have to make. With the time we have left, I would be happy to answer questions, or if there's further thoughts or ideas, we have a few minutes.
Questions of Mr. Meyer? Councilmember Dolphin?
Just a question on the funding sources. I don't see any, you don't have any grant funding specifically for like, other than what we ask for in-kind contributions or from the city, but like, are you applying for any other grants through different foundations, federally or anything like that?
Sure, yeah, thank you, Councilmember Dothit. I can speak to that further. So yes, we are constantly applying for additional sources of funding. The way I've presented the numbers here is as a standalone program based on partners that we are in contact annually that we hope to count on. Currently, some of this work is supported through a grant from the Federal Bureau of Reclamation. That grant is supporting some of the work to help us get caught up on data management and analysis needs that I inherited when I started my work. And the video that we just produced was supported through a grant from ConocoPhillips Alaska Community Grants and produced by Martin Media. So yes, we do have additional sources of funding. What's described here is what I am envisioning as an annual budget that would be forming the baseline of what we can count on a year-to-year basis.
Any further questions? Vice Mayor Nexon? Oh, sorry, Councilmember Sonart.
So in the video, I caught a glimpse of a building that said Kenai Watershed Forum on, and I was mentally just trying to place it, because I was trying to figure out where it was at, but it came in and went out so fast. Where is that building located?
Thank you, Councilmember Sonnet. That is our office, and we are located next to Soldotna Creek Park. So if you were to walk from Soldotna Creek Park over to Kenai River Brewing, you would pass by a building there, and that's our office.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, stop by sometime.
Further questions? Councilmember Dolphin?
Just real quick, so this is a privately funded, essentially, or separate from a state government agency, correct? Is there a government agency that does similar work on the river or water monitoring or anything like that? Is there any redundancy with other agencies as far as state of Alaska goes?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Dothit. I can speak to that too. Currently, there's not any, the source of state funding that we have for this project as an annual partner is the Alaska Department of Natural Resources. They provide an annual contribution of $3,000 to support laboratory expenses. The agency that would do work most similar to this, and a number of their employees participate providing in-kind labor to do the field work as well, is the Department of Environmental Conservation. Often the way that agency will work on this topic is if there's a concern that the community has about water quality, if that concern is based on legitimate sources of information like this project, they might then follow up to do additional monitoring to see if they can replicate those results. And if that is the case, then it is potentially elevated to a greater level of action. That was the case, for example, with the hydrocarbon work, like I was discussing in the video, when that was identified as a concern. This was well before my time as an employee. There was work done both by the Department of Environmental Conservation as well as private consultants that were hired to help replicate those results. So as far as are there duplicated efforts, if there are, I'd certainly want to know about them. To my knowledge, there is not a duplicate effort like what this project represents.
Councilmember Raskin?
Thank you for coming. How many paid employees are there with the Watershed Forum?
Thank you, Councilmember Askin. There are 5 of us that are full-time. For the sampling events, like what were shown in this video, it's typically like maybe 2 employees that are involved with it that day. And then participants from other organizations, there's usually about 15 to 17 folks altogether that are contributing about a half a day's worth of time to help make it happen. One important part of this project is that we're always looking for ways to evolve with the times, to become more efficient and to, possibly drop things that we've done in the past and do new things in the future that we haven't done yet. So part of the way you make those decisions is by looking at the data that you're gathering and that you have. If there are certain things that are pretty constant and static and not changing much, maybe you don't need to monitor those as intensively as we have in the past. And so those are the kind of decisions that I hope to make as part of the comprehensive report that we're working on currently. That is certainly an option, which I hope will find some ways to save on the budget for this project. But simultaneously, at the same time, we're often getting requests to do monitoring work that's not part of this project yet. We get calls of people that are concerned about road salts or microplastics or changing water temperatures or things that are not currently targeted as they're not explicitly targeted as part of this project. So yeah, I am hoping to keep funding at at least a current baseline level so that we can keep up with what we're already doing.
Any questions? Vice Mayor Nexon?
Thank you. Benjamin, thanks for coming tonight, and I do see a lot of value in the Watershed Forum and its sampling in the river. It helps the city of Kenai, the city of Soldotna, and the borough, of course, all the people that live here within those areas, and continuing on. But I do have some questions about funding and whatnot. It would appear, because we dropped our funding, the dollar amount, because we were going to provide our lab down at the sewer treatment plant. And we talked about this a little bit last month, I suppose. But Soldotna has their sewer treatment plant. They have Soldotna doesn't provide any funds, but they provide the lab. I was wondering, I'm not sure what question I'm exactly asking, but would be what testing are they providing that equates to that amount of money? Or is that something that we can't do here, that only they can? And or can we share in that?
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, I'm following your train of thought. The lab analysis work that is provided as an in-kind service through the city of Soldotna, we're speaking at their council meeting next week, is samples for fecal coliform bacteria and total suspended solids, which is essentially how much stuff is there floating in the water. That service has been offered through that lab, I think, since the inception of this project, since the year 2000. City of Kenai, looking at my records at least, came on board as a formal participant and supporter in 2011. And so this was all before my time, but we continued with the services that City of Soldotna provided. Part of it, I think, is, well, a meaningful reason that they are providing this work is that some of the samples have what's called a limited holding time, which means there's just a certain amount of time that can pass from when the sample is collected in the river to when it needs to arrive in the lab. So by having it just a minute or two away from our office, it might seem like an insignificant difference that the Soldotna lab is maybe a half an hour away from our office. Helps ensure that we can get those samples to the lab in time so that they can still be considered legitimate. That being said, yeah, I was encouraged last time I was here to touch base with the new person who's the manager for the Kenai wastewater treatment plant to see what kind of lab services they might be able to provide as part of this project. I have not done that yet, but I am interested to make sure I get their contact information and talk about how we might be able to work together. So that is my state of knowledge on the topic currently.
Just following up, I didn't realize that the City of Soldotna was a certified lab for total coliform bacteria. Or is that not necessary?
They are a certified lab. Yeah, I actually checked on this topic. They did provide me with their state DEC certificate of certification for fecal coliform.
Other questions? Oh, Councilmember Casina.
I just wanted to say thanks, Ben, for coming back and bringing a wealth of additional knowledge. I found it pretty interesting rabbit hole to go down. The links that you provided, I think your guys' GitHub provided a ton of additional resources and comments that, if you have the time to read it, is pretty fascinating and detailed. So I just appreciate that, that you came back and delivered more stuff. I did have two questions about the budget. It looks like from 2005 to 2022, the indirect costs rose over time, and I'm curious, for one, have those continued to become an issue for you, and what are categorized as indirect costs for the Kenai Watershed Fund?
Yeah, thank you, Council Member Casena. Our indirect cost is the percentage that our organization charges to help keep the lights on and pay our one administrative staff person and any other expenses that are not directly project related. It's a percentage that's, somewhat out of my control. It's 28% with our organization currently. And if you went down that far down the rabbit hole that you were looking at our GitHub sites, you've really gone down far, and you should know that some of that is still a work in progress. How has that changed over time? I believe it's fluctuated between 25 to 30% generally over time. I would have to investigate a little bit further as to why that would have changed specifically with this project. I don't have a very robust answer to your question on that topic. And remind me, I think you had a second question as well.
I've also forgotten the second question, and don't worry about the details on the first one. It's far more detailed than you needed to be for this presentation, so I appreciate it. I just wanted to commend you guys on the maps that you guys have on your website that show your sampling locations. I think if there was a time that we have our grant groups come present, you set a pretty high bar. So thanks for doing that.
If I may offer one more comment, I'm especially interested to hear knowledge from this group about additional opportunities for funding that are external or opportunities for efficiency that I am not aware of. So I come today not just to ask for funding for this project, but also your knowledge and expertise and connections and whatever else it might take to see this work continue.
I do have one, as long as everybody else is done, just a final, question here. So you projected a revenue gap of about $18,200 for 2025. Is that still the same as when you submitted that for our packet here?
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. I can update a little bit on that. So Councilmember Douth had asked about this too. The numbers that are presented here are a scenario where we have no external funding other than our local partner. So currently, we do have some support to cover staff time to do some of the data management and analysis. So for this year, that particular expense will be covered. It's not guaranteed in the future, though. And I apologize, there was a second part of your question.
Yeah, no, that was just it. I just was wondering at the time you submitted this for our packet, if there was,
and-
any I know you're continuing to do outreach, if that had changed, though.
I can provide one additional update as well. The contract laboratory in Anchorage that we work with, SGS Laboratories, has offered a 15% in-kind discount for their services. So that will offer an annual savings of about $2,500 altogether.
Okay. Yeah, and I support this. I think it's important to keep this work going as far as baselines go, because I think once you have a gap, you lose that baseline as a, as a trajectory graph of how that's working. I think the Kenai River water quality is very important to the entire peninsula and certainly the city of Kenai, considering the number of fish runs that it supports. So I just have one last question. In your in-kind services organization, you have a Mr. Kenai Sport Fishing. Is that a individual or is that a group, or I'm just...
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. This is a sport fishing guide whose name is Jack Mister.
Oh, okay.
And he operates a service called Mr. Kenai Sport Fishing.
Oh, got it. Okay, very good. I figured he might be someone that takes you around in the boats and picks up the samples maybe or something. I'm not sure, but, okay. Very good. Any further questions? Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Appreciate you taking the time to present to us.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel, and thank you, council.
And just so you know, we're scheduled this evening to schedule our work session, which will be around the end of April, 1st of May. So just for your curiosity, this is generally a part of that discussion of our grants to other agencies. So,
Okay, thank you very much again, and we appreciate your time.
thank you. Next up, we have under item C2, still under scheduled public comments, we have request for land donation, Kenai Peninsula Housing Initiatives in Court, Finance Director Dana Gregora. Did I say that right? Gregoire. Sounds French.
We would like to thank you guys for the opportunity to present to you guys this evening and take the opportunity to thank you guys for your commitment to serving the community, particularly our senior citizens through prior donations of land we've received from the city of Kenai. And also thank you for the consideration of the ordinance being a laydown item tonight in order to expedite this process for our grant timeframes. So I'm going to start just by giving a little bit of information about who KPHI is for anybody that doesn't know, and what we've done so far, what we're doing next, and then what we're hoping to get your help to do. So we're a nonprofit housing developer. We develop rental housing across the Kenai Peninsula for low-income persons, families, senior citizens, and supportive housing for mentally disabled adults. We have properties that are in Homer, Ninilchik, Kenai, Soldotna, and Seward. Our mission is to provide the low-income, very low-income, senior, special needs residents of the Kenai Peninsula area the opportunity to take a more active role in their lives and communities by providing a variety of affordable housing options. Oh, my notes turned off. Oops. And I'm going ahead. All right, we've been developing for 20 years. We have 31 separate residential rental properties across the peninsula, plus our Homer office and community center. There are 155 units of housing across those 31 properties, and they are all currently, those are all the ones that are currently complete and rented up, occupied with people. We are currently into the development stage of 4 additional properties that will add an additional 26 units of housing to that portfolio. One of those properties is in Homer and nearing completion. The other 3 are the ones we are breaking ground on in Kenai on land that's already been donated to us. This is just some pictures of properties we have around the peninsula. These ones are all in Homer. These are here in Soldotna. These are a variety of our supportive housing properties in both Homer and Soldotna. Senior housing complex in Soldotna. This is Ninilchik and Seward properties. And then this is the first property that we developed in Kenai and Readout. This is Clearpoint Apartments. It has 10 units of low-income housing that comprise of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. This is on lot 2 of the tract of land that you've already donated to us. The other development is Kenai Meadows Senior Housing. That's on lot 1. That's 2 buildings that have a total of 12 units of senior housing that are 1 and 2-bedroom units. The additional land that we still have that we haven't developed on yet, lots 3 and 4, that's already been donated to us, what we're breaking ground on any day now, that's what's next here, what you're looking at of lot 4, right here, is what we're breaking ground on. That is 12 units of senior housing and 8 units of low-income housing. Lot 3 is what we'll be donating or developing next, but this is already all land that we have already been donated by you guys. So the ask comes in where we're looking for additional land, and this has been being donated off of this large tract of land that you have, that there's some 68 acres left. So the section here in yellow is where we're looking to get the additional land donation from, along the backside of our existing properties there. With the right-of-way included, that tract of land comes out to a 5.09 acres according to my architects. So that is what we're looking at getting donated to us. What we plan to do, or what we'll be able to do with the land donation, looks like this. The existing buildings are already on this map in the lower 2 left-hand corners of lots 1 and 2. What we are getting ready to build this year is right here, but that entire 5 acres in the back is all what we can do with this land donation. That will bring the total up to 54 units of senior housing and 54 units of low-income multifamily housing for this entire 10-acre parcel. Depending on how fast we can get funding and being able to open up new funding sources, like the one mentioned for the timely, like the reason why we're trying to get this done a little quicker is a new funding source. So the more funding sources we find, the more units we can develop each year. So we are looking forward to the opportunity to apply for this Federal Home Loan Bank grant that is a source of funding we haven't utilized in the past, that can really help us get more units built each year. So that is where the critical timing comes in for having this considered over 2 meetings instead of 3. The additional funding source will increase our rate of lots that we can develop each year, and the additional 42 and 44 units of each senior and low-income housing, that will bring, as I said, the community impact for the entire 10 acres to 54 units of senior housing and 54 units of multifamily housing. So we ask that the city take prompt action. Oh, I guess I should talk about this part. The importance of land donations, is we are a smaller developer comparatively to other people utilizing these grant sources in the state. And so in order for us to remain competitive in this really limited and competitive funding source, we have only found success through coming at it with donated land. So the land donation that we get from the city of Kenai and other cities across the state have been a really critical part of how we've been successful in achieving these grant awards and developments in the past. So we're able to leverage additional funding. We're able to stay competitive. It's able to get us to meet our needs of other communities, meet our mission, and help the city achieve your needs for senior housing and affordable housing for your residents as well. And then it helps KPHI achieve our mission or support our mission. So we're asking the city to take prompt action and consider this ordinance presented for additional land donation. This request is crucial for meeting the needs of our residents, and the timing is critical for securing our necessary grant funding. The support of this ordinance, you can help ensure that our community has access to essential resources and opportunities for growth. We'd like to work together to enhance the quality of life for all residents, and your support is, I really had something nice to say there that's covered up. Hold on. Oops. Sorry. This keeps timing out over here. Your support is vital in making this vision a reality, and thank you for considering our land donation request. And then if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. And I'm going to pop back to this map for you guys to look at more. I think it maybe went out in the agenda
we've
packet
got
too.
We've got a copy.
Okay, yeah.
Any questions? Mr. Green? Councilmember Dalton?
Just, how does the market price for these units get established? And how does that affect other property owners that might own multiple unit dwellings in the area? How does it compete with non-donated land developers for pricing for them?
So our funding source has primarily been from the Alaska Housing Goal Program, and by requirement of that funding source, we utilize the HUD rent limits that are established. And so depending on what actual pockets of money we get from the Goal Program, it requires the units to be restricted to persons who earn 30 or 50 or 60% of area median income, and then we utilize the rent amount that is set by HUD to establish our rents. So it's not us setting them, but they're typically, they're set to be affordable rental amounts. But I don't think that there's a direct impact to any other landowners who are property managers. I don't think it's taking anything away from them because there is a housing shortage. I was going to mention we have 62 people on our wait list for Kenai currently. So the number of people on our wait list and in this area alone that need housing there's no shortage of that. So our restricted rents and affordable housing, I don't think is detracting from your for-profit developers that haven't developed onto donated lands, if that answers your question.
It does, a little bit. It just was, so these are individuals that are going through state assistance, basically.
Some do. People have to be income certified in order to qualify to live in the units that have that restriction tied to them. It all stems back to where we got funding from, which part of the Goal Program we've gotten funding from. So they go through an income certification process by our staff to ensure that they qualify, and then their rent is the rent for a 1 or 2 bedroom or 3 bedroom unit of the same income restriction is the same for everybody. It's not income based. They just have to meet an income requirement. But we do have a large number of tenants who receive like the Alaska Housing Choice Voucher Program, which then the state program is subsidizing their rent and paying a portion based upon their income of their household. But not everybody has that, and it's not a requirement to utilize that to get our housing.
And just one real quick, also, so with your program, you obtain grants to build the housing. What does the rent cost go to support?
Other than grant, we get grant funding for every project, but we also take out our own term mortgages, term debt to bridge the funding gap on that. We always have debt on all of them. So the rents are covering utilities, insurance, operations, debt, mortgage, our staff, in-house maintenance workers, all of those things.
Councilmember Sonar?
I think most of my questions were just answered. Thanks to Councilmember Doggett. Because in my mind, I was trying to create a paper trail for the rent. I mean, obviously, the people that go into these units, you said you interview them to make sure that to see what level of income they qualify for. So they get a level that they qualify for it, but then the Alaska Housing Voucher System, or HUD, picks up the rest, possibly, and then all of that money then comes back to the nonprofit, which gets used to pay off your debt, utilities, staff, and things like that.
That is accurate, but I'll clarify a little bit. Let's just use the example that a 2-bedroom unit in Kenai, the rent for that is $800 at a 50, the 50% rent is $800. And we've certified that that person makes at or below 50% of area median income, so they qualify to live there. The rent is $800 there. Whether that's coming from them or portion of that gets paid for with their housing choice voucher, the total is still $800. And it doesn't matter if a person moves into that unit that gets assistance or not, that the rent amount is set, and those rent limits are set by HUD. The total amount that we charge for rent.
Thank you.
It is complicated, so I'm sorry if I'm not explaining this very
Councilmember Daniel?
clearly.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. Yeah, I think you're explaining it beautifully. Thank you.
Okay.
Just a follow-up question on what's been asked. So you get people in the units, which is awesome, and I fully support that. It's great. What happens if they make more? Is there like a requalification, or is it there?
Brandy's can talk about this a
okay.
little bit better. This is our executive director, Brandy. She does more with the income certifications and tenant sides than I do, so.
Hello. So if the goal of the program is to never make anyone homeless, however, these projects are intended for a specific population. And if somebody's income increases over 80% of area median income, we are required to charge the lesser of 30% of their adjusted monthly income or market rent. It's typically market rent, and we get comparables of what's available on the market. And we keep comparables for a long time. If we see anything that's available through Facebook or Craigslist or various sources, we have files for comparables so we can get an accurate picture of what comparable market rent would be. So we basically rent them out, and that's how the project was designed, and that's a HUD regulation.
Just a little bit extra about that. They have to be income certified to move in, and then everybody is re-income certified annually. And what she's saying is that if they go over income, they don't have to move, but their rent is not going to be capped at those affordable limits anymore. They go up to a market rate rent based on the area. Right, so.
Perfect answer to that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Further questions, comments? Vice Mayor Nexon?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gregoire, thank you for coming and talking to us. And I was trying to think of how to, could you pedal faster? Because we could use more buildings and expand more. We've got an aging population here, and I do know through our senior center, we have the housing there. We have a 2-year waiting just to get into that. And then you just said what you had, and that's only going to increase, because how the population is. And I guess it's a comment and kind of lead into, more senior housing is, something this city can use. I mean, the lower income too, it didn't sound like senior housing was necessarily low income senior housing, because I think there was an and in between.
For these developments, and depending on the funding that we get, we do have some of our senior units that are restricted to low-income seniors. And the definition that we use for senior citizens for our purposes is 55 and older. We choose to use the lower, I think the other option is what, 65? 62. We utilize 55 and over for the definition of our senior housing, but we do have some units in the senior housing developments that are set aside for low-income seniors. And that just is driven by the funding sources that we get. But again, that highlights why we're looking forward to getting into this new funding source that we haven't utilized in the past, that the application period is open from April 1st to May 1st. So if we can, from April 1st to April 30th. So if we are able to secure extra land, then we can apply for more funding and then hopefully be able to build more. In the past, we've been able to typically get order with 2 projects from HFC, which has been like 2 6-plexes a year typically, but we're looking at being able to, trying to find more sources so that we can scale this up faster, get more units built at once to meet the needs. But it also has some economic advantage of being able to have our developer or our contractors build more units at once. There's just kind of like an economy of scale feature that we're realizing the benefits of by being able to do more units at once. But yes, there's no shortage of the housing need in Kenai and across the whole state where we serve, so.
Thank you, and I just, we could use more, and you have, our working relationship has been good, and I look forward to doing more.
Thank you.
This and then whatever the next thing might be.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Casano.
I have no other questions. I just wanted to thank you both for your time and explaining this in more detail and bringing this information. So thanks and great work.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say as well, echo, thank you for your time, Dana and Brandy, for showing up here and giving us an overview and answering our questions. This is something I do support. I hear about it every so often that we do have a need for low-income and senior housing in our community. And I like the idea of this more of a public-private partnership, more than just, public. I think you guys are better suited to, help tailor this to the need than we are, and but we can help assist you and do that. So forward with that.
Great. Yeah, we really appreciate it and appreciate you guys' time, but also do want to highlight too, we really appreciate the administration's time that they've been giving to us recently with meeting with us and talking through all the different options and everything. So, Terry and Brandon and Lee and everybody, everybody's been really great and helpful on the administration side, helping us talk through options on, from zoning and planning and rezoning things and lots that are available. So we really appreciate that as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you. That concludes our scheduled public comment, and that brings us to item D, unscheduled public comment. Is there anybody from the general public that'd like to address the council at this time on any item that is not on the agenda or consent agenda? Ms. Nelson.
Hi, Marion Nelson, Kenai Art Center. I handed out some rack cards that speak to the current show, which is the annual kids show, school kids, that is, and from various schools in the borough. I did not jot down today which ones are or are not participating. Maybe it says on the card, but it's a very colorful show. It's a very lively show, to put it mildly, and I can't encourage you enough to go take a look at it. It's very full. The main gallery is very full, and the back room is very full. So you get your money's worth, so to speak, and take a look at it. Any questions on that? We've got First Friday opening coming up, of course. Very exciting if you're a kid at that point.
Councilmember Casano.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, and maybe you just answered that. When can people go check out the Student Art Show?
Wednesday through Saturday, noon to 5.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for asking. I forget to say that.
So it's open now, today, from noon to 5, from now to Saturday?
Yeah, we're closed now, though, Brian.
Well, yeah. I mean, this point
Sorry, I
in
had
time.
to nail that.
Touche.
By the clock on the wall.
Thank you. I meant right, but at this time, from Wednesday to this period of time.
Enough.
I think I'm just going to be quiet and say thank you for, thank you, Ms.
You're
Nelson.
good. Any other questions from anybody? You can be proud of the kids in this show. They have had a good time making the pieces that they made, as well as their teachers did a great job of getting some energy out of them, or encouraging the energy that they had to channel it into some really fun projects. All kinds, pottery, painting. I mean, it's covered all the options, you might say, in terms of expression. So it's a good one. Yes, anyone else? No. Okay.
Is there anybody else from the general public that'd like to address the council at this time on any item that is not on the agenda or consent agenda? See nobody online and nobody in chambers. We'll move to item E, public hearings. Item E1, resolution number 2025-21, amending city council policies 20.010, recording council meetings, and 20.020, standing commissions and other advisory body procedures, to establish that meeting recordings are retained in accordance with the records management schedule and record retention policy of the city of Kenai. Pleasure, council. Vice Mayor Notstein.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt Resolution 2025-21 and request unanimous consent.
Second.
Is there anybody from the general public that'd like to speak to our resolution 2025-21? Seeing nobody online or in chambers, we'll bring it back to council, discussion from council. Councilmember, our Vice Mayor Nexon.
Well, it looks like this is really just kind of cleaning up our policy, and I thought perhaps the city clerk might be able to provide some additional information.
Very good. Ms. Sainer?
Thank you. Through the mayor, this is basic housekeeping. We're putting everything in the retention schedule, which our retention schedule already talks to meeting recordings, and it is set based on the local government model by the state of Alaska at 10 years. So our current policies were lower than that and lower than our retention schedule. Our retention schedule, any amendments or changes to it or full repeals and rewrites of them are adopted and approved by council resolution. So any changes to the 10-year retention would come to you guys through the public process.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councilmember Casana.
I just wanted to say it seems like a really good logical choice to shore up some potential conflicts between council policy, code, and retention schedules. I did want to make the comment that for those interested that might not know, you can review those council policies on the city council's page under municipal code and adopted policies. I didn't know that until yesterday. But one question I wanted to ask of the clerk is, because there were dates listed in these code or these policies before, where could people find those retention schedules if they wanted to know them?
Ms. Sainer?
Thank you. Through the mayor, it's available in our archives online, but that's a little bit more difficult way to find it. Anybody that would requested a copy of our retention schedule, I would be happy to provide for.
Thank you.
Further questions, comments, deliberation? Unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, resolution number 2025-21 is adopted. That brings us to item E2, resolution number 2025-22, amending council policy 20.000, agenda and packet, preparation, distribution, and publication to establish a 20-minute aggregate time limit for scheduled public comment and a 30-minute aggregate time limit for unscheduled public comment. Pleasure, council. Vice Mayor Nexon.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt resolution 2025-22 and request unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Is there anybody from the general public who'd like to speak to resolution number 2025-22? Seeing nobody online or in chambers, we'll bring it back to council, and I guess I'll ask the clerk to give another overview of this resolution. Ms. Sainer.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. So I brought this forward after discussing with Mayor Gabriel that when we have a bunch of public comment ahead of business on the agenda, there's a chance of not getting all of the business done. So putting an aggregate limit at the beginning of the meeting on public comment allows the business that needs to be taken up to be taken up. Each public hearing allows for additional public comment. A consent agenda allows for public comment, and then at the end of the meeting, we have another opportunity for 5 minutes that does not have an aggregated cap on it, 5 minutes per speaker. So this would just allow us to make sure that we get to business on time. And as another conversation that I had, the council always has the ability, if we were hitting that aggregate moment, the council has the ability at any time to suspend the rules and extend it by a majority vote of the council. So this is just setting a standard so that when people are asking for time slots, when we're setting the agenda, we know we can put 2 presentations. And when we get public here, we know that there's that 30-minute aggregate, and the council, it's up to the council if it wants to go beyond that.
Any questions, comments, deliberation on that? And I'd just also like to point out, as the clerk said, there's a point of citizens' comments at the very end, just before council comments, that gives the opportunity, again, another bite at the apple. So, but that's a point in time where there's no aggregated time for that. But at that point, our business is concluded. That's on our agenda. So we've gotten through the business portion of our agenda. And even at that, even under those rules, we're allowed to, if there was additional public comment that we wanted to get, that we would be able to postpone the meeting and to another date to continue gathering that information. I don't think you're sort of planning for for the worst case scenario, I guess, but that does allow that. So it's not really necessarily limiting or keeping people from being able to testify before this body, but allows us to make sure we get our work done, so. Any other comments, deliberation? Unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, resolution number 2025-22 is adopted. That brings us to action approval, item H3, Council on Aging Commission 2025 Work Plan. I think there was 3 items that they had on their submitted work plan to the body, and I think what we're just looking for is the approval of their plan. Vice Mayor Nexon.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I move that council approve the Council on Aging 2025 work plan, request unanimous consent.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the work plan? Vice Mayor Nexon.
Thank you. No discussion, but I thought it would be appropriate to at least note the 3 objectives, that they're very attainable, and it seems appropriate, but they have, their strategies included there, but I'm not going to, we can read those on our own. But objective 1 is to identify opportunities for intergenerational programs, and they have 4 strategies listed and how they intend to achieve that. And then objective number 2 is review emergency plan for the Kenai Senior Center, and that has 3 strategies following that. And then the third one, I get down here, identify programs and activities for health and wellness, and they have 2 strategies for that. I believe this is something that went through the clerk's office too, so I'm not sure if our clerk has any comments to, because the clerk's office initiated all of this too.
Very good. Further discussion? I have, I just want to come and thank the commission over there for their work to identify these 3 items. The first one certainly caught my eye, was the intergenerational program. So I like the idea of them sort of engaging the younger folks in the community for some of their programs over there. So, and they've got, their strategies are very well thought out, I thought, as well. Further discussion? Seeing none, unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the Council on Aging work plan is approved. That brings us to a discussion on scheduling our budget work session. And I think there were several dates that were thrown out there. Yeah, so we had April 26th. These are all Saturdays too, I believe. And everybody knows that our budget work session, our annual budget work session, is a full day. Well, most of us know, our newest member maybe not know, but he'll soon find out. So we usually set a full day aside here. And the dates listed were the 26th of April, 3rd of May, or May 10th, and the 3rd of May was recommended. So generally it's a 9 a.m. start time there. So is there any objection to May 3rd at 9 a.m.? See folks looking at their calendars. Okay. I'm going to go with the nodding of heads. Is there or is there anybody, Councilmember Donovan?
I could probably make it work. The 10th would work better for me, but, well, does anybody know when graduation is? Is it high school?
You should know.
I should know, but I don't know. Is it that? I don't know. I think the 10th might be getting a little close to graduation. That's my only concern.
Yeah, usually it's more towards the middle of the month, I believe, although I think they rotate the schools. Well, Councilmember Doth is considering Councilmember Casetta.
3rd works fine for me.
Okay. Councilmember Sonner.
The 26th and the 3rd work fine for me.
Okay. So again, okay, let's go.
The 26th would work better for me if it's an option. Because my wife's out of town on the 3rd. It's the only thing.
26, let's go there. No good. No. Yeah, I don't think it's very good for me. The 3rd would work best for me as well.
I'll make it work, but I might have to be in and out. This I'll have free-range children.
Okay. All right. May 3rd at 9 a.m. So just a question for the clerk. Do we need to bring up our added item to the, or was that added through the action we took already?
No, we still need the motion to introduce and schedule the public
That's what I
hearing.
thought. Okay. So I just want a clarification on that. So as you're aware on our laydown, we moved at a requested addition to the packet, which was ordinance number 3463 under item H5. So at this point, we'll need to have a motion to introduce, which would put that in the normal spot on the agenda under introduced legislation, and then set the date for the scheduled hearing, which I presume would be our next meeting. Okay, very good. Councilmember Askin.
I move to introduce ordinance 3463-2025 and schedule the public hearing for April 16, 2025.
Very good, thank you.
I will second.
Discussion on the motion?
Request unanimous consent?
Very good. Unanimous consent was requested. Is there any objection? Seeing none, ordinance number 3463-2025 is now on our agenda for introduction and for public hearing at our next meeting, April 16th. That brings us to commission committee reports. Item 1, Council on Aging.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing to report. The April meeting has been canceled.
Thank you. Airport Commission.
Nothing new to report from last council meeting, and our next meeting is the 10th.
Very good. Harbor Commission.
Nothing to report. No meeting since our last meeting, and their next meeting is next Monday at 6 p.m.
Very good. Thank you. Parks and Recreation Commission.
Our meeting will be tomorrow, so nothing new to report.
Very good. Thank you. Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm going to make up for all the no reports. I have 2 reports. Okay, so for the March 12th Planning and Zoning meeting, they passed a resolution PZ 2025-13 that would put 2 government lots, lots 128 and 129, into a single lot, approximately 2.247 acres. This was on Second Avenue, and both lots are owned by the same person. They just wanted the lot line taken out in the middle there. Yeah, and I said it's off of Second Avenue there. So by one family, and that was approved and passed. Then there was an unfinished business item of Aspen Creek, and there were quite a few people that stepped up to the microphone to testify. These are residents from the neighborhood that backs the street called Ponderosa. And that entrance going down Ponderosa through that residential neighborhood is for emergency vehicles only. At least that's what it says. But they were there to testify that there has been increased traffic in their residential neighborhood because of non-emergency vehicles, because of staff, employees coming in and out, and of supply trucks. And several of them offered video testimony, which they turned over to our director to look at and to go through, and then he's going to get back to us on that. So it's definitely something that P&Z and ultimately us, we need to look at, because there is that neighborhood that backs Ponderosa is being affected. There's quite a bit of number of traffic back there now that is non-emergency vehicles. So that needs to be looked at. And then they met 2 weeks later on March 26th, and it was approved, PZ 2025-05. This was from the Black Gold Estates replat merging lots, 4 lots, 11, 12, 16, 17, with a 60-foot right-of-way into a single lot in the suburban residential zoning district. And I'm not sure I could give you the actual details on that, except for the 4 lots that were merged into one, they do not come up to the road, and I'm blanking out, what is the road that goes to the prison? Wildwood, thank you. But there is a 60-foot right-of-way that's been dedicated there, and of course, now being able to vacate up to that point is going to be determined in what the administration can work out with Canarsie, because I know there's Kenai Native, sorry. And I know I'm not explaining this well, but I'm not sure I understood it well, but I have a lovely map here. Okay. And then the other thing that they approved that night was PC 2025, number 15. And this was to, they approved and recommended that the Bailey Estates Carpick Rice replat between lots 1 and 2, again, same owner, owning 2 different lots off of Lawton, have that lot line taken out. And if I'm reading this right, it would come up to approximately 4 to 5 acres, because each one was like 1.8 and one was like 1.7, so it'd be close to 4 acres there. And that's in a rural residential area, so, and that was approved and passed. So P&Z has been busy.
Thank you, Councilmember Sonart. Beautification Commission,
Nothing to report. Next meeting is the 8th.
thank you. On the report of the mayor, so last Saturday, I did attend the March for Meals fundraiser, probably better known as the pie auction over at the senior center, and
Excuse me, dessert auction.
dessert, oh, sorry, that's right, because there's cakes now, I keep forgetting about that. It's just muscle memory, it goes back to pie auction every time. I know, I guess so, okay. I'm trying to make pie, yes. Okay, so, I would like to say that this was a Gilligan's Island theme, and it was a lot, it is, as usual, it's one of my favorite events over there. I actually missed it last year because I was out of town, but this year I was able to make it and really enjoyed the cost. We had several of our council members up here and their spouses did very well on the costume portion of that. Yeah, you did. They won the voting on there. I think it was rigged, but I think they did. No, they actually did. Probably were deservedly got that because they really went out of their way. And in fact, I didn't even recognize them when they were sitting there. I thought I was actually watching an episode of a remake of the Gilligan's Island. But anyway, there was like 20 pies, and the one of them went for $1,500, and I think they raised over $50,000. So, and all this, for folks that don't know, that's facilitated by the Senior Connection, and that money goes to help feed the seniors over there and throughout the year. So, great cause, good fun, and had a great time. And then this afternoon, or at noon today, Mr. Eubank and I delivered the State of the City address at the Kenai Chamber, and it was that went really well. And every time I do this, we take a little bit of time to prep for this presentation, and I get the pleasure of sort of going over the department highlights for the year. And so they get submitted, and we, as we go through our process to, as our presentation, we're in a time constraints because there's a lot of information. Terry covers the administrative stuff that they're doing, economic development, capital projects, all that sort of stuff that's of interest. So, but I guess my whole point I'm getting at is that the amount of information we actually pare down to doesn't include a lot of the information that gets pulled out. And when you look at that amount of information, the work that our city staff does, city employees, and just self-motivation they have to do what they do and provide the services to the city is very certainly impressive. And so just wanted to take the time to do a shout out to our employees and the work they do and the initiative they take to make this the best place in Alaska to live. And with that, we'll go to administration reports. City Manager, Mr. Eubank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Got a few things to report on. We start to talk about our staffing. A few things happening here. In the Water and Sewer Department, we've had several promotions. Mr. James Hagar was promoted to the utility foreman position. Operators Cody Mackey and Bradley Barrett were both promoted to utility lead operators, and the department is currently recruiting for a utility operator. In the fire department, Jesse Torianen has been promoted to the engineer position. We also have 2 new firefighters that are going to be joining the team, one starting in April and the other starting in May. I don't have their names, I apologize for that, but we have 2 new ones coming onto the crew there. In the street department, Mr. Eric Lervig was hired. He's a new equipment operator in that department. And we're actively recruiting right now for a bunch of summer positions in Parks and Rec and for the PU fishery. So if you know anybody out there looking for a great summer job, send them our way. I do believe staff are going to be at the upcoming jobs fair that's going to be hosted here in the next week or 2. We'll have a presence there, so looking to fill those positions. I do want to remind council also that on April 25th, over at the Senior Center is going to be the Employee Appreciation Event. I hope you can all make that, because I couldn't agree with the mayor more. I'm super proud to be able to work with the people that I work with here at the city, and I think we have some of the best employees around. So it's a great night to celebrate them. I hope you guys can make that. We've been working hard on the budget process. As the mayor said, he and I had the privilege of speaking with him today at the chamber for the state of the city. And I really look forward to that every year, I think, like the mayor, because I feel like it's almost our opportunity to brag a little bit about all the things that we're able to accomplish here in the city. And that was a fun event. I've been meeting with all departments, going over their budget submissions, trying to get it pared down for the finance director to put that draft together. I believe that's scheduled to hit council's hands on the 18th of this month, so a couple weeks from now. And on the 24th, I'll be providing opening comments at the Kenai Peninsula Economic Development Industry Outlook Forum. That's going to be at the Visitor and Cultural Center here. I want to congratulate Kathy, staff at the Senior Center, and Senior Connection on the successful March for Meals program. I heard that's a dessert auction that they hold every year. So, and then I want to point out, this for the public here, the Kenai annual Easter egg hunt that takes place in Municipal Park will be on Sunday, April 19th from 11 to 12:30 for kids age 2 to 9. They're able to hunt for prize-filled eggs, enjoy some games, music, hot cocoa, and even snap a photo with the Easter Bunny. Please don't miss out on that fun, and the Easter egg hunt starts at 11:15 sharp, so make sure you're there early. And last but not least, I want to remind everybody and the business owners out there that we have an open grant period right now for our storefront and streetscape improvement program. It's our 3rd round of that grant program. Those applications are due here to the city by April 11th. They're available on the city's website. If you have any questions, please contact our planning department and they'll help walk you through that process. And we'd like to see as many applications as we can get. That program provides matching funds. It's based upon available funding, but up to $10,000 for qualified matching funds for qualified storefront or streetscape improvements. So that program, again, applications close on the 11th. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of the city manager? Vice Mayor Nexon?
Yeah, thank you. Terry, did you mention the April 17th meeting? And who's going to be there and where?
Ms. Shebank?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Vice Mayor Nexted. I apologize. Yeah, April 17th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Kenai Visitor and Cultural Center. Again, there will be a public meeting. This is a meeting being hosted by the Army Corps of Engineers and the contractor for the Bluff Erosion Project. They will be on hand to provide the public more information about that project, answer any questions. So really encourage the public to get out there and learn some more about that project. Construction is going to start on that project on May 16th. So this meeting here in April will be last chance to get some good information on it. So hope everybody can attend.
Any other questions?
Well, construction starts on the 16th, so I expect probably that day. They're actually waiting for the beluga activity in the river to calm down, and that's why the delay to the 16th. So I suspect on the 16th or shortly after, we'll see our first barges.
Further, 17. Further questions of the city manager? Seeing none, we'll go to the city attorney, Mr. Bloom.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel, members of council. I don't have anything to report, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of the city attorney? Seeing none, we'll go to the city clerk, Ms. Sainer.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. Reminder that financial disclosure statements are due to my office by April 15th if you haven't completed yours yet.
Thank you. That brings us to additional public comment. Is there anybody from the general public that'd like to address the council at this time? Seeing nobody online or in chambers, we'll go to council comments. Councilmember Dothett.
It was a fun-filled dessert auction at the senior center. It was great to see everybody there. There's some really fun costumes, and it's always a great cause and fun to chat with the different seniors and get a few stories a few different times. And there was lots of good food. I would like to say that they always put on a good show there, and Missy over there in the kitchen does a pretty awesome job with the desserts that they had and the prime rib dinner and everything. So just like to say thank you for everybody on that one. So other than that, that's about all I got. Enjoying spring.
Thank you. Student Rep Tanner.
So for Connections, on April the 4th is an art exhibit at their office in Soldotna. Additionally, Connections would like to recognize the following students and their achievements. They would like to recognize Sarah DeVold, who was honored as a national STEM champion at the National STEM Festival in Washington, D.C. in mid to late March. Shinlon Tanner, who has been selected as a winner for the National Merit Scholarship, and the Connections High School Science Bowl team, who won the statewide competition in February and will be competing at the national competition later this month in Washington, D.C. For Kenai Central High School, on April the 4th is their boys and girls varsity soccer jamboree. On the 7th is boys varsity soccer versus Clarkston High and girls varsity soccer versus Nikiski High. On April the 11th is girls junior varsity and varsity soccer versus Soldotna High. And on the 12th is their junior and senior prom.
Thank you. I could have swore you mentioned your sister there. Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Councilmember Soner.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. So I too attended the March for Meals, the dessert auction. It was in writing, dessert auction. And it was just a wonderful evening, and I'd like to thank Kathy and Red and Missy and their entire staff for just a fun evening, and dinner was absolutely delicious. I'm sorry my three-layer key lime cake caused such confusion for the auctioneer. It was introduced before intermission as a key lime pie, and it was introduced a second time after intermission as a key lime pie. So I did not mean to confuse everybody, but maybe one of these days I'll have to have to bring one in for council so that you can see a key lime cake does actually exist. And then, and I want to give a shout out to Ms. Sainer. I thought her cake of the evening was the most beautifully decorated one I saw there. Very intricate. I noticed it and I liked it. So kudos on that. And then I'd also like to say, I took the tour of the wastewater treatment facility. I didn't know what to expect. I have never toured a facility like that, and I had no idea that I would walk away with the understanding that it's all about the bugs. And I got to see them under the microscope. Very fascinating. So thank you to our staff there for making that tour possible. They were great.
Thank you. Councilmember Raskin.
Thank you, Mayor Gabriel. I too attended the March for Meals, and Ms. Soner was the perfect Mary Ann, and Alex was Captain, what's his name? I don't even remember. The skipper. Anyway, but I won the split the pot, so I was pretty happy about that. And then I also went to the wastewater treatment plant. Thank you, Lee, and your staff. That was a really good tour, and I appreciated it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Daniel.
Man, I feel like I'm the only one who didn't go to the dessert auction, but it is a great fundraiser, and I'm glad that some needed funds were raised. Also, thank you to staff for the tour of the wastewater treatment facility. It was interesting. I learned a lot and helped us do our job a little more effectively so we understand what we got going on down there. And I also had an opportunity to take a tour of the airport and I did not realize at the airport that if you've never been on the field, how big that is. I know we have a pilot here who can attest to that, but I did not realize the amount of facilities we had and how big that, that whole operation is and what the city does. And also learned that we have almost every lot leased right now, which is impressive. So thank you, staff, for taking time out of your day to do that for us. Really appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilmember Casana.
I'll help you out, Phil. I also did not attend the dessert auction, though I would have bid only on pies. I welcome the opportunity to be proved wrong on cake being superior. So I did, however, take the tour of where that cake or pie goes when it's done. And I will say it was far more fascinating than I would have ever imagined, with the exception of the first building, a separator of sorts. The rest of it was smell-free, smelled like peat earth, and so that was, the whole thing blew my mind. If you get a chance, can't recommend it enough, go check it out. Other than that, it was a real high point of that week. I attended Kaleidoscope School Town Hall. Kaleidoscope is in the process of hiring a new principal for the upcoming school year. And so they're going to be navigating that for the next several weeks to find a new principal, interview them, and hire them. So with any luck, maybe Kaleidoscope School can get some crossover training from the folks at the wastewater treatment plant. I did a quick survey. Many kids at that age would be very interested. And then I also had the privilege of attending the KCHS Marching Band Taco Dinner and Silent Auction yesterday, which was really well attended, I thought. But part of that's because I won a ton of stuff, is why I liked it. But it's always good to support the band and the marching band, and yeah, it was a good event.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Naxon.
Thank you, Mayor. I too, well, I made it to the pie auction. Too bad you really missed out, man. But, I don't really dress up. It's a costume party, and I just, never really, but, I took a look at we couldn't get that channel, for Gilligan's Island down here when I was a kid, but I thought, oh, okay. Well, I dress like the professor almost daily, so it was really easy. I just put on the right type of pants and a lighter shirt, long sleeve, and kind of rolled it up, and I was the part. So I fit right in. So, but at any rate, so that was a relief, for somebody that doesn't do that kind of stuff much. But anyway, much fun. Before that, though, I did get to go, and we went together to the sewer treatment plant. Went through that. I've been through it before, but it's quite a process, and we've been putting a lot of money into that facility. And I saw a lot of the new equipment that was in there that's much more efficient than what was there before, and what was going to be coming up. And it's something that we don't think about. Just another thing I wanted to point out about that facility and the men. I didn't see any ladies down there, but the guys that operate, the folks, operators, they have to go through a lot more certification to run that facility than like the water treatment plant. You'd think, oh, gee, the water what we're drinking, that's got to be, well, it's the same stuff coming out of the ground, and it's being treated and processed, and there is a process and certification for that. But down there, there's much more certification process and time in certification to be certified. So they just can't hire somebody that can read a gauge and this and that. There's a lot. There is really a lot to it, and my hat goes off to those folks down there. Great facility, good folks down there. And the last thing I have is I did make it to the chamber today for the state of the city, and I thought the city manager and mayor did an excellent job in the presentation. Covered a lot of data in 40 minutes, but not the minutia and all that kind of stuff like you mentioned, but there's a lot more you could have mentioned, I suppose, but it was very good, and I thought that it was well received. So thanks for that. That's all I got.
Thank you. And with that, we'll go to item M on our agenda, executive session. Vice Mayor Nexon.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to enter into executive session to review and discuss the annual evaluations of the city manager, city attorney, and the city clerk, which may be a subject that tends to prejudice the reputation and character of the city manager, city attorney, or city clerk, per AS 4462-310C2. Mr. Eubank, Mr. Bloom, and Ms. Sainer have elected to have the discussion take place in executive session. The executive session will include Mayor Gabriel, the city council members, city manager Eubank, city attorney Bloom, city clerk Sainer, and city manager Eubank, city attorney Bloom, and city clerk Sainer may be included if and when the council requests their presence. Request unanimous consent.
I'll second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Daniel,
Yes.
Councilmember Sonert,
Yes.
Mayor Gabriel,
Yes.
Councilmember Casena,
Yes.
Councilmember Dothett,
Yes.
Councilmember Askin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nakstad.
Yes?
You have 7 yes votes.
Thank you. We will convene into executive session now.